Charcoal. Okay, now I'm ready.
Okay. Now, John, we invited you here mainly because you have a strong manufacturing background. You bring to that knowledge that other people, wouldn't be able to. And I'm wondering, from your end, is TTP and in fact NAFTA, did that help manufacturers or did it hinder them in the long run?
No, it definitely hindered. It actually devastated the U.S. manufacturing base. And there's numbers that I talk about in my book, Selling Us Out, to give some specifics based on reports as to how much damage it's done. But it's been severe. But based on my experience, my firsthand experience, I can tell you that there's one company in particular I'll talk to you about, Compaq Computer Corporation, that was hurt severely by this so-called free trade. And that in the other industries, the whole computer industry actually has been wiped out in the U.S. as well as the semiconductor industry because of these trade arrangements. And what's happened is we not only has the manufacturing for PCs and other technologies that I have firsthand experience with shifted offshore primarily to Asia, but the whole infrastructure that goes along with those industries has moved with it. And this is why people that are very well educated, and a lot of these people I know personally that have engineering degrees from good schools and universities in the U.S., they can't find employment for what they've been trained to do because the industries that they worked in are no longer here in force in the U.S. In most cases, the industries have totally left. In some cases, there's a fragment of what used to be here still in existence in the U.S.
And so some of the companies that you worked with that were suffering, what are some of the things they did to try to, survive?
Well, what became clear, again, because of the trade arrangements that we've made through agreements like NAFTA, is what became clear to these companies. And actually what's ironic is some of these companies actually pushed to get these agreements put in place. But again, the reason they were pushing so hard to do this is not because they saw that as a benefit to their workers, but they saw it as a benefit to their shareholders and the Wall Street bankers that were pushing them to show good quarterly returns. So the financial industry is really probably the main culprit behind this destructive trade and economic policy in this country, because they're only worried about making money. They're not worried about doing what's best for America or American workers. And so, I'm sorry, I got off on a tangent here. Can you go back? We go back to your original question?
Yeah, well, essentially, the original question was, you answered the original first question, then that question was, what did some companies try to do to survive under the circumstances that NAFTA caused?
Yeah, well, what happened was after these, and some of this is by plan, but after these agreements got in motion, full swing, the companies saw that the way they could become more competitive in their mind, and the way they could give a better quarterly earnings and profit report to the folks in Wall Street, was to slash their U.S. workforce and move the jobs offshore to other countries that had lower cost labor. And so that's been the mode of operation pretty much for the past 40 years. NAFTA, it's interesting. I just read an article the other day that said that Mexico may soon surpass Japan as being the #1 exporter of cars into the United States. And that's simply because we moved the manufacturing from Detroit to Mexico. And you can see what the impact's been on Detroit. Detroit looks like Beirut, Lebanon. And Mexico, what's interesting about Mexico is, even though they've taken over a lot of the manufacturing that used to exist in the U.S., automotive particularly, because of what NAFTA enabled them to do, the standard of living in Mexico hasn't greatly improved. So the question is, why? And it's because the people that are making money are the capitalists, both in Mexico and the U.S., not the workers. The workers on both sides of the border are being exploited.
So now,
Well, no American that cares about the economy, regardless of their political views, can afford to sit on the sidelines and do nothing. Everybody has to jump in. And actually, the thing we can all do as Americans is we can stop this ridiculous partisan warfare. Because what's happening is these parties are pitting us against each other on all these other unrelated social issues. And economically, we're being destroyed. Our economy is being gutted out. Our treasury is being bankrupted. And we're left fighting over the table scraps. So Americans need to put an end to this. And we need to start thinking and acting like Americans again. And nobody in this country can afford to sit on the sidelines. Everybody has to get involved. And we need to put the partisanship aside. And we need to focus on these economic issues. What's best for America? What's best for American workers?
Good. Well, I thought that was the strongest one yet, so I liked it.
Okay. Good.